From Pod World headquarters, this is the Carolina Insider from Learfield.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Oh. Now, you just imagine little, 9-year-old Adam growing up in Cary. Loves the Tar Heels.
Mommy, can you flip up my mullet in the back?
He loves the Tar Heels, wearing his Billabong jacket. And all those little State fans all live around him. And State fans and 9-year-old Adam always talking back and forth to each other. Now, fast forward to the year 2022, 9-year-old Adam still lives inside, 80-year-old Adam, who's here now. That 9-year-old was very happy on Saturday as the Tar Heels put together an impressive performance against the Pack, led by as many as 35. And they didn't win it by 51 like they did just a couple years ago, but they did win by 20. And I don't even think that score reflects how dominant Carolina was in the game. 100-80 was the final. We will talk about that game today. Of course, there were all kinds of things that happened around that game. Coach Williams honored at the half, the 82 team back, Tar Heel Bird making an appearance on the court. Incredible. And so we'll talk about all of that. Football schedule out. Adam and I will break it down. And Adam, we have one of the men of the hour after the State game. Jackson Watkins, Tar Heel walk-on, first year on the varsity. He was put in the position of, were people getting the biscuits or not getting the biscuits? He had the biscuit pressure, and we'll talk about it. What a show we have.
I was with someone at the game Saturday who's from out of state and doesn't really understand Carolina and NC State. It was his first exposure to it. And I think the score was 70-37. And he leaned over and he goes, "Is this enough?" And I said, "No. This would have been a good halftime score."
Adam looked at him and said, "It's never enough."
No. But it did make me think. Think about that year Carolina beat NC State by 51.
Yeah, that was the championship year, right?
Saturday, that was a beatdown. I think we can all agree. That was only a 20-point win. That year, Carolina beat the Pack by 2.5 times that. It was 2.5 times that level of beatdown. That wasn't enough either, but I liked it.
Yeah, and that team had Dennis Smith Jr. on it for State.
An expensive beatdown.
Yeah. So, it was quite a day. It was quite a day in the Smith Center. We're going to talk about it after I tell you that, Adam, we're right on the cusp of the Battle of the Blues. Still some work to do tonight, against Louisville, but Duke is coming to town after that. Janny King is auctioning off a package that includes 2 tickets, a parking pass, and a pregame reception for Carolina Duke. That's February 5th, Saturday in the Smith Center. All proceeds will benefit the Ronald McDonald House across the Triangle. So all the Ronald McDonald Houses across the Triangle. Adam, you can place your bid online today. Would you like, Adam, to tell everybody the website? I know you have it burned in your mind.
I'll do the first half and you do the second half.
Sure.
bit.ly/.
bit.ly, Adam. / Battle of Blues for RMH.
Right.
bit.ly / Battle of Blues for RMH. Auction closes February 3rd. What is that? That's Thursday at noon. So submit your bid. Help support the children and families of the Ronald McDonald Houses. In this game, everyone wins. I don't even know why you wouldn't go do this. Just go take a peek. I don't know what the price is right now, but just take a peek at it. And if it's within a range that's comfortable for you, you go to Carolina Duke. And you can help the Ronald McDonald Houses. There's no losers here.
You're checking off a bucket list item, and you've done some good.
Yeah.
And you've learned more about easy-to-remember web addresses.
Right. Adam, it was an incredibly impressive performance from Carolina. Obviously, the Tar Heels shot the ball incredibly well. It's wild that no shots went in against BC and all the shots went in against State. But if you had to pick, would you like it that way or reversed? You take it that way. And I think the good part for Carolina was it wasn't just that the shots were going in. Clearly, when you're scoring at that efficiency rate, everything else has a little extra juice to it. I legitimately thought Carolina did a really good defensive job in this game, too. Sebron, who's a terrific player, only had 2 points. A lot of that credit goes to Leaky Black, and we've seen Leaky do this a couple of times now where he has been put on the opposing team's best guy and has limited him severely. That hasn't happened every single time, but it's happened a lot of times. I thought the protection of the rim with the 9 blocks, Baycott with 6 of them. He has 9, by the way, in the last 2 games combined. I thought that was a big part of it. Carolina rebounded well against a good rebounding team in NC State. And the fast break points, 25 of them, I do think it's a nice that fast break performance is a nice reminder of why so many teams don't try to offensive rebound against the Tar Heels, because State did, because State's a good offensive rebounding team. And when you do that, Carolina gets 25 fast break points, whereas you see so many other teams, as soon as the shot is back, all of them just get back. They don't even try for offensive rebounds, or maybe they have one guy. So, yes, Carolina shot at a rate that it's not going to be able to shoot every single game. But if you do some of those same things and continue to get the type of looks that you got in this game, you're going to shoot a good percentage. And it wasn't just the shots went in and then Carolina didn't try on the other end. It was a complete performance.
And I thought Carolina got a lot of those shots by sharing the ball really effectively. The guards made good decisions. And there have been some games this year where you see Carolina quite clearly consciously thinking about, let's make the extra pass. And sometimes it's too many passes. Against State, they made the right pass, found the right open man for the right shot, and almost all of them went in. And you could tell that once the tsunami hit the pack, they were not they had had enough and weren't willing to put forth much more, and Carolina just continued to pile it on.
A lot of individuals played well in this game. I thought R.J. Davis was really good. And it's hard to say quietly when you have 17 points and 4 assists and just 1 turnover and you've got the ball in your hand as much as he does. I thought he was just really under control in this game. He played good defense. He made smart decisions with the ball, hit a couple of corner threes when Carolina moved the ball well, and he's a great standstill shooter. So a lot of guys played well. He really stood out to me as somebody who I thought was very effective in this game.
And he was an important part of that tempo, whether moving it by pass or by dribble. But once he got into the front court, making the good choices, not over-penetrating as young RJ might have done and get himself into trouble down there under the rim, but penetrating the right amount and then either doing it himself or finding a teammate.
We love Puff Johnson, Adam, but I do think he's found a big role on this team. I mean, he and Kerwin Walton seem to be the 2 guys that you can count on are going to come in off the bench and be a part of the rotation for Carolina right now. And he ended up with a -5 in the plus-minus, although a lot of that was at the end of the game when he was out there and the Tar Heels had lost their minds in the last 5 minutes. And I would encourage you also to take a listen to the Hubert Davis radio show. We talked at length at one point about Puff Johnson and his contributions, and Coach Davis talked a lot about why he thinks Puff is being so effective right now. He just gives Carolina something that it needs coming off the bench, and it is energy, it's effort, it's toughness, things that Hubert Davis, you may have heard him say those things, Adam. But he's hit a 3-pointer. He is a dangerous enough shooter out there to keep you honest, and somebody who, if you leave him alone, he's going to hit the corner 3. He goes to the glass hard. He played good defense. He gives you something positive when he enters the game.
I think when you ask yourself, I wonder what a team full of Hubert Davis players would look like. It's a team full of Puff Johnsons, I think, both in the way they play and in the way they conduct themselves off the court and just how they are, their entire existence in the program. That's what he's looking for. And remember, Puff Johnson wasn't the most highly ranked recruit of all time, but I do think he can play basketball. And I think if you had about 8 of him, you'd win a sizable amount of games. So, and I'm glad he's finally been able to get back out there. Of course, you heard him on the pod a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
You already know him and love him.
You know he's a good dude.
Yeah. So, and Coach Davis said to us that one day off there that once he starts making shots, he's going to play more. And he knocked in a 3 against the Pack. And as Coach Davis mentioned on his radio show, he's also introducing the idea that you can score by going to the offensive glass, which he did very effectively also on Saturday.
So, Adam, from anything else as far as the basketball part, Carolina and NC State?
No.
I will say one other thing. I don't think Brady Manick is Carolina's best on-ball defender. I thought he did a good job in this game. There have been times where other teams have attacked him on the defensive side. I thought he did a really good job in a difficult matchup for anybody because State had some really good individual guys. And Manick guarded Helms a fair amount in this game and did a decent job. Now, Helms still ended up with 25 points, and you go, what? That's not. But I thought he made his shots difficult. Helms just hit some tough shots. And I just thought he did a nice job. And if you could get something similar out of Brady Manick on the defensive end, don't mind the fact that he went 5 of 7 from 3. That would be a big plus.
And I thought he was sneakily a big part of that transition game. Because
he's got that trailing 3 that's tough.
And there were a couple times I looked up and he was sprinting down. I was like, what's that flash of dirty blonde / red lightning out there? And it was Brady Manick. And when you always think of the guards as controlling how fast Carolina plays, but when Carolina's been the very best running the ball, it's been because the big guys run too. And he did a good job of that also.
Yeah. Adam, do you want to let everyone know that you and Brady Manick are at odds right now?
Yeah, there's a bit of a beef after Friday's practice. Brady initiated this.
Yes, he came over and said, I have something to say to you, and I believe he called you Mr. Lucas.
He did.
He said, you are in trouble with me, Mr. Lucas.
That's right, he did. And he sat down and he said, I want to make it clear that my beard is red, but my hair is not. And I believe I referred to him as a redhead in a recent story. And so I would like to issue a formal apology to Brady Manick and all the members of the Manick clan, wherever they might be, from here to Hera. Brady Manick is a dirty blonde head and a red beard. And as I think Brady said that day after practice, he'll take the heat for something if it's true. Like if he's a redhead, he'll admit it, but he's not. And then the example he gave was like, if somebody said I'm stupid,
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
His example was like if somebody said I was ugly and I was ugly, I could accept it.
That's right.
He's like, but I'm not ugly.
Also, he's not stupid.
Yeah.
All these things. So you got it all. Good looking.
Yeah.
Tousled, dirty blonde locks and wise.
And a sharpshooter.
And knocks in 3s and plays okay defense and runs the court. And what else do you need? Helps old ladies cross the street. So Manick family.
Says yes, ma'am. Called you sir.
Of course. And specifically Brady himself, I am genuinely sorry from the bottom of my heart. It will not happen again, although I did see him after the game Saturday. I said, hey, there's Brady, my favorite redhead. He just gave me an old you rascal look. We went on about our business.
Sometimes it just takes time to heal wounds, Adam.
That's right. So, if you've got some kind of group chat with your family while you're watching your games and you're like, there's that redhead knocking them in again, you take that back.
So, Adam, the game, great. Tar Heels win. It was awesome. Played well, good. Carolina now 7-3, halfway through ACC play, right there in the mix. Miami's 8-2. Duke and Notre Dame both 7-2. They played last night.
We know what happened there.
Right?
Really changed the top of the ACC standings, that outcome, Jones.
So Tar Heels in the mix.
A lot of the top teams play each other this week.
Yep.
There's amongst that top 4 or 5, there's a lot of head-to-head games. So by this time next week, we'll know much more about the ACC.
Miami and Virginia, I think, play this week. Carolina, of course, has Duke coming up on Saturday. So, yes.
I think Notre Dame plays Miami. Might have made that up.
I like it when the other teams that are involved at the top play each other.
Yeah.
And I can just sit there and be like, well, no matter what happens, somebody's going to lose this game.
It never fails that they're not playing at the place I want them to be playing.
Right.
And so then I'm always like, oh, fill in the blank team. They never go on the road. Not like the Tar Heels. They play 18 out of 20 conference games on the road.
Before we get to the other stuff that happened on Saturday, let's remind you that we're brought to you by LS Tractor. Don't let your outside chores or projects cause you to miss any Tar Heel game action. Whether you need to mow it, till it, move it, LS Tractor can help make short work of it. Adam, did you know if you buy a tractor, you get a loader?
We've had a lot of bad weather lately. I bet you wish you had that loader.
For free. A deal this good can't last forever, allegedly. Visit lstractorusa.com. lstractorusa.com to learn more. LS Tractor. Now you can do more for less. Okay, Adam, I'm going to let you take this portion of the pod because you were there soaking in all the celebratory things on Saturday with Coach Williams at halftime, the 82 team being recognized at a timeout, Michael Jordan in the house, which, by the way, and I know we've talked about this I'm sure before. I assume it's like this with Tiger Woods. I assume. I can't imagine there are many other people that just change the feel of everything just by being there. But Michael Jordan does that. He does that today in 2022. 20 years after he was done playing. He still does it. And he just automatically changes. Maybe Brady or somebody like Tom Brady, maybe. I don't know. But the whole, well, we've been in a game where Tom Brady
at Syracuse.
Yeah, it was different. I mean, Tom Brady, obviously terrific. Probably the greatest quarterback ever to do it. It's still different. Jordan is just different. And it felt different that he was there. I think it made a difference to the guys on the team. It was cool for them. It's, guys, Tar Heels got a lot of hip youngsters on their team, Adam. A lot of cool dudes. But even they dropped the curtain of cool when Michael Jordan's there. So I'll now hand it to you, Adam.
Well, you were there too. You were out at midcourt with Roy Williams and Mrs. Williams and some other members of the Williams family. I thought it was just a perfect afternoon of Tar Heel basketball in the Smith Center. I thought the Roy Williams Day stuff was well done from start to finish. It was cool how there were little in-game elements during timeouts, and people really seemed to enjoy that. And I think Coach Williams really enjoyed that. There was the Roy Williams cam where people were imitating Coach Williams, and he was just over there laughing. And Wanda was just rolling her eyes. Oh, Roy up there with his fist clenched, doing the squat.
I knew that was going to happen. I didn't see it. I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't notice it happening when it did.
You, of course, got maybe like your one oblivious person on the video board who didn't understand what they were supposed to do, but everyone else, great job by everyone else. So that was really good. The pregame was really good. I thought the halftime ceremony was just right, and I thought it was nice that he was able to speak and able to tell people what was on his heart and tell everybody thank you and how much he loves Carolina, which, of course, we all already know, but you want to hear it from him.
Sure.
Whoever that guy was who hosted the halftime, he did a great job. And then the 82 team, you could bring them out at every timeout, and people would be just fine with that. Run some video of James Worthy dunking on some people, Michael Jordan making the shot. And what you said about Michael Jordan I thought was exactly right, and it really hit home because, of course, he's loved at Carolina. But then you look over behind the NC State bench, and many of those were NC State parents, I'm sure, of players. They're all sitting over there taking pictures, and some are lifting up their little kids so that they can see Michael Jordan with their own eyes. I thought Brandon Gray, who does a lot of the graphics that you see and handles the UNC basketball Twitter account, things like that, he's a lifelong Carolina fan, and before the game started, he said, if I can just see Michael Jordan with my own eyes today, then I just want all the rest of you to know that whatever else happened, I did what I wanted to do. So, and I think that's kind of how everybody feels when they're around Michael Jordan. And we were in the same building with Tom Brady, but he was eclipsed by Jimmy Fallon. If Jimmy Fallon had been there on Saturday, no one would have cared about Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
Because Michael Jordan was there. So what else could you want from whatever you paid for your ticket? And we got several notes from pod listeners who said they weren't planning to go, but they heard our hints that they would want to be there and bought tickets, and we're glad they did. So those folks who heard our hints and didn't buy tickets, maybe next time you'll believe us.
The halftime thing, I do think it was genuinely impactful for Coach Williams, and I can say I was standing next to him, and so I could tell that, and he had been tipped off, I later learned, about the banner due to some cookies that were made for him by a former pod guest, McKenna Jones. McKenna, what I've learned since, Adam, is that McKenna Jones makes some mean cookies.
I had one of her cookies on Saturday, and it was delicious, but it didn't say anything about a banner.
So, and now I may not get these details exactly right. So, just accept it as fact.
That's not important. Look, Brady Manick said if he was stupid, he would accept it.
So, McKenna Jones, national champion, Tar Heel, former women's tennis player at Carolina, now doing some post-grad work within the athletic department. Apparently, McKenna Jones, as Adam just confirmed, makes really good cookies.
Yes, that's part's true.
So I think something about Coach Williams gave her some guff because he had wanted some cookies and didn't have cookies at one point. He was like, oh, McKenna, you got to make me those cookies. So apparently she made some cookies for this game, and either the cookies themselves or there was like a little note with the cookies that said, congratulations on the banner.
Oh.
Now, I don't think Coach Williams, I don't think Coach Williams knew about the banner. I know Wanda knew, but I don't think Coach Williams knew. But so he learned, so he was tipped off. However, I still think in the moment he saw the banner, he was emotional when he saw the banner fall. And emotional moment. Absolutely, he deserves to be up there, of course. And I do think it was impactful for him. It was so fortunate that the Tar Heels had played so well and were up 25. Because then you can sit there and, I was able to go, 38-5 against the Pack. Now, if this is a tie game at halftime, I'm not going to be able to say that because the game's still. But, the Tar Heels were in pretty good shape here. So you can do that, and he can laugh about it, and he can say whatever, like beat the heck out of him in the second half or whatever it was that he said. And it was a very nice confluence of things that came together to really make it a special ceremony.
And now we know two people you don't trust with your locker room secrets, McKenna Jones and Danny Green. They will definitely tell the things you don't want them to tell.
Now, I bet I probably told it totally wrong, and McKenna Jones is totally innocent, and now she's going to be like, what? They said what?
What really happened was Clint was on the walk with Coach Williams, and Clint was like, Coach, you excited about that banner? And Coach Williams was like, what are you talking about, you rascal? And Clint was like, well, that's what McKenna told me because she was giving me cookies. And then Jones told it on the pod as McKenna made cookies, put a note in there, and said, Roy Williams, you will receive a banner on Saturday at 2:45 p.m. Congrats. Enjoy the cookies.
Signed McKenna. So, yes, awesome. Awesome day. Now, it becomes paramount for the Tar Heels, Adam, to do this away from the Smith Center. And they get that opportunity tonight against Louisville. And look, Louisville's had a tumultuous year. They've let go of Chris Mack. Mike Pegues, one of their assistants, is now the interim coach. But, would it stun you if Louisville rallied the troops and just played great? No. They have talent. The Yum Center is always a hard place to play. They're always going to have size, which they have. They're always going to be a good defensive team, which they are. The really unique thing about them, at least to me, in getting ready some for this game, I think it's 8 guys that their leading scorer is Malik Williams, and he averages, I think it's 10.8. So not a high leading scorer total. They have 8 guys that average between 5.5 and 10.5. So there's just a bunch of guys who play any one of them can hurt you, can go off, can have a big night. It's not just one guy that you have to focus on. They do have just a bunch of different guys who rotate in and out and make you continue to work for the entire time. And so if Carolina in any way feels like it can relax or something, then the exact same thing that happened at Wake and the exact same thing that happened at Miami is going to happen. I do feel like, Adam, not that the Tar Heels are trying to get me or you or Tar Heel fans to like trust them. That's not their goal. But they've been in this situation a couple of times this year where you think, is this team pretty good? Is this team good? And then they lost to Kentucky by 1 billion, and then they did it again. You thought, wait a second, ooh, they're playing pretty well. Big game at Miami, and they lost by 1 billion. And so they've got this opportunity now, to use a word that Hubert Davis likes to use, to validate what they've done in Chapel Hill. Can they do it now on the road?
And I kind of think of Louisville as this ragtag bunch of ragamuffins who nothing will go right for. I mean, they are almost 500 in the league. They're 5-6. They have got a better record than, for example, Clemson, which I think of as being a pretty tough team to face. Better record than Syracuse, who everybody keeps telling me is pretty good. And they played Duke, a tough game at the Yum Center on Saturday. I think the giant unknown was that the one-time summoning up of, all right, guys, let's go show everybody we're not that bunch of ragamuffins? Or is that finally all this hubbub with Chris Mack is off our backs and we can just go play basketball? Because it could be that. And if it is, then tonight is going to be very, very difficult. I think we tend to learn a lot about Tar Heel teams at Louisville. We learn they're pretty tough, or we learn they don't want that smoke. And because usually Louisville's got that smoke, Jones. So I honestly have no idea what to expect. Carolina needs to go on the road and play well and beat an average to above average team on the road, because the ACC resume, honestly, is not incredibly strong at the current moment because of the way the schedule's fallen. You got a couple wins against Georgia Tech, they're last in the league. You got a win against NC State, they're second to last in the league. You got a win over Virginia Tech, they're third to last in the league. And you got a sweep of Boston College, who's also in the bottom half. So Louisville is on the cut line of the bottom half, and you need to get that road win to establish yourself for the second half of the league, which is going to be a little tougher.
I think it was 2013 when the league wasn't super strong. And I do think that it's weird. Like, I remember Carolina won a game at Maryland late that year, and you're like, man, that's a good win. And it is a good win. It was hard to win there. Just like beating State's not easy to do. State is going to be fired up to play Carolina. And so how you feel about that win, like going to Georgia Tech and win, that's a good win. But it doesn't look great for the metrics. And I understand all those things. That's why I do think these road games in particular, Louisville and Clemson coming up, they're huge. The State game over in Raleigh, that'll be huge. To win a game, accrue some wins away from home. That'll just be really important. I mean, if the tournament was today, Carolina would be in and be comfortably in. But they can't mess around. They just can't.
Well, and we're right back where we were to when Carolina went to Miami.
Right. Yeah.
And Hubert Davis told his team, you're playing for something. You've got a chance to play for first place. Carolina's not playing for first place tonight, but they're playing to be in that battle. You're playing to have a chance at the regular season championship if you can go on the road and win games like this. And the Tar Heels did not respond very well to that line of thinking at Miami, and they have to respond better tonight.
Okay, why don't we get to our conversation with Jackson Watkins? We'll do that, come back, then we'll take a look at the football schedule released last night for this upcoming season. Plus, we have Adam's list and everything else. So let's get to our conversation with Jackson Watkins, and then more to do on the Carolina Insider.
If you were to make a list of the most important free throws in Tar Heel basketball history, you'd have Joe Quigg.
Joe Quigg won the national championship at the free throw line.
Whatever. He made 2 free throws to win the national title and clinch an undefeated season in 1957. And then shortly right after those free throws, I think you got to go with, I would say, Jones, Jackson Watkins against NC State to give people their biscuits and clinch a glorious day in Chapel Hill. Jackson sifted through a significant amount of media requests and decided that he would come here to do the podcast and tell us about this incredible moment in time. Jackson, thanks so much for making time for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Had to make time for, my favorite podcast.
Hey, there we go. Love it.
A little shout out.
So what is it like to stand at the free throw line with biscuits in the balance?
Biscuits weren't the only thing on my mind. Actually, the only thought in my head, there's not much going on in there with in front of 20,000. But as soon as I got fouled, the only thing in my mind was, okay, Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the greatest basketball player of all time, is watching right over there. So that was really the only thing going through my mind. In terms of, the pressure of the shot, that's easily the most pressure I've felt doing anything, but definitely on the basketball court. So it really just boiled down to, banking on my instinct and, all the hours of hard work that I put in.
So the first one, I think it was a little long, if I remember correctly.
Oh, very long. Yeah. Yeah. Nowhere close. Before I even got to the line and got the ball, I was pretty sure I was going to miss the first one. I'm going to be completely.
Attaboy, had a way to be confident, Jackson.
No, but I just had this instinctive feel like in high school, the first time going to the line, if I missed, it was the first one just to, get the nerves out. And I was definitely, I was shaking a little bit, shooting the first one. Sitting for an hour and then coming in, having to hit that shot. But it was weird, as soon as I missed, and I knew I'd missed as soon as it left my hand. As soon as that happened, I just had this sort of guttural feeling that I was going to hit the second one. Like, there was no doubt in my mind.
Nice.
I've never been more sure of anything, but that second one felt good.
Now, Caleb said that after he made a couple threes, he snuck a little glance over there at Michael Jordan. After you sank the free throw, were you like, what's up, GOAT? Jackson Watkins right there, just knocking that in.
Maybe I should have. I really just pointed at the bench because I knew they were going crazy, but I didn't really know what to do because that was easily the craziest moment of my life.
So what have you heard from Tar Heel fans? What have your friends been doing here the last day or two?
Yeah, definitely on Twitter, a lot of people have been, liking different posts and stuff. And there's one Twitter account that posted that I'll never buy a drink again in Chapel Hill. So that sort of blew up. In terms of like random people, Saturday night, I was out and about and people were, coming up like, thanks for the biscuits. Like, and I was like, I got you anytime. But they're calling me, Biscuit Boy, Biscuit Man, because not many people knew my name, I guess, apparently. At that same Twitter account who said, I'll never buy a drink again, they tweeted like, I didn't know we had a Jackson Watkins on our team. So I thought that was pretty funny, and I don't blame them. But hopefully they know my name now. So.
All right, two things. Well, okay, first of all, you did get biscuits, right? Did I see a picture of you with the biscuits?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I woke up Sunday. I slept in. I woke up and my roommate was like knocking on my door, and he was like, "Hey Jackson, I got you some biscuits."
Hey, what a solid!
I know, and he had actually beat the line. He got up early and. Because apparently the line was out the
it's crazy
out and around the block,
I mean, guys, it's just two biscuits for $1, but people act like it is.
You save like 50 cents.
I know.
Yeah.
People act like you're giving them like a 24-karat bar of gold.
Exactly.
Which I guess you did.
Yeah, I mean,
like a metaphorical bar of gold.
A buttery bar of gold.
There you go. What a solid by your roommate, though. That's
I know.
Huge.
Well, and here's the thing. Dewey took part in this whole 3-point collection, but. He and I were going to go, in the afternoon because we had to go, get our biscuits. And shortly before we were about to go, my other roommate texted me, and he was like, there's a really long line. And when he got up to order, they had actually run out of biscuits in Durham at that one. So I was like, whoa. The magnitude of this was a little bit more than I thought. So that was definitely crazy.
What I was going to say is what a life it must be on Saturday night after a big win over the Pack and Jackson Watkins just out on the town. He's just hanging out.
Were you at Davis Library?
Yeah, I mean, I assume.
Studying. I was getting ahead of my homework.
I assumed that was the case, and everybody just going by. Now, here's the other thing about I'm giving you full disclosure here, Jackson. Right when you first started practicing with the team, I didn't know your name, and so you and
Rob Landry.
Sorry, I couldn't remember Rob's first name for a second. We're both wearing number 15.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I started calling you little 15 and Rob big 15.
Whoa.
And so I was like, oh, there's little 15 and big 15.
Yeah.
So just know that in my heart, you're always little 15 is going to be your name. Is that?
That's completely fine.
Okay, we're just want to be full disclosure.
How happy are you came to do this interview?
This is awesome. I'm having a blast. This is cool.
We got any NIL possibilities with Bojangles? I mean, let's take advantage of this thing.
I mean, here's the thing. I sold out
Yeah.
entire restaurant of what they sell.
Yeah.
That's their thing.
So yesterday, because my roommate who had got the biscuits for me, he was like, all right, this is a golden opportunity to, try and get something. And he tweeted out that picture of me holding the bag, and I had to say
that was holding the bag, literally, guys. Literally holding the bag of Bojangles.
Yeah. And I realized, I have to tweet something. So I tweeted at Bojangles. I said, NIL deal, ? With the little eyes looking emoji. So that, I don't really use Twitter that much, but that tweet blew up.
Nice.
And, people are supporting me because I got them free biscuits.
Yeah. What more can the man do?
Really, you saved them 50 cents.
Well, but hey, who knows what they can do?
in their hearts, it was free.
It's really not about the money. It's it's about the experience behind the biscuit.
Look at this. See, he's already.
Yeah.
Man, what a spokesman.
Have we heard back from them?
Not yet.
Come on,
I'm
Boj.
holding out hope.
Let's go, Bojangles.
Maybe push it out.
I mean, if it happens again,
Yeah,
that's locked in.
Yeah, come on, Bojangles.
Multi-year deal.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So there have been guys who are in similar roles on the team that you were on. Dewey Burke always comes to mind for me, who were like biscuit guys. Like they were always in there in a time where biscuits could occur. Have you heard from any of those guys? It's like a biscuit fraternity.
Yeah, that's funny. I haven't heard from them personally, but I can't remember who it was. But earlier in the season, someone told me the story. I'm guessing it's about him. But, someone told me the story about a walk-on who hit a shot to get him biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of his career. He was known as Biscuits.
Yeah, Dewey Biscuits
that's Dewey
Burke.
Burke.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come on here and just like maybe Bo Jackson. What do you think about that name?
Oh, but now wait a minute. Did you come up with that yourself?
No.
Okay,
actually,
make sure you give him credit.
Jackie did. Jackie Mann.
I like that one.
Yeah, and biscuits, that's a food. I'd rather not be known as a food item. So I like Bo Jackson. It sort of flows.
Yeah. It brings it all together.
Similar athletic abilities.
Yeah. Like my 40 time is right there with him. Maybe 20-yard dash.
I've always wondered when you're sitting on the bench and the Tar Heels are beating NC State fairly handily, and they have a large amount of points. Are you thinking to yourself, all right, now on this current pace, biscuits are a possibility that might be like, are you aware that the biscuits are in the future?
You just described my thought process exactly. And I'm a math guy, so I was sort of in the first half. I was like, we're gonna be really close to 100, and by like about 12 minutes left in the second half, I was like, okay, we're still up a ton. There's a chance that we could go in and we're going to be really close to 100. So that did enter my mind, and I was like, this could get interesting.
All right, take us through. Let's take a step back. Tell us a little bit about your journey here to Carolina. How'd you get involved with the Tar Heels, and take us through how you got to be with the varsity this year.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll start like in high school. I was being recruited by some D3 schools, but that was really the extent of sort of my college opportunities. And I'd always wanted to come to a big school, just have that more collegiate feel.
Sure.
And my mom went here, so we grew up coming to games. So I was born and bred a Tar Heel. And I knew we had a JV team. Growing up, I'd seen just posts and heard about kids, playing. So I decided to come here and, try it out. But it definitely wasn't like a guaranteed spot. But as soon as I got here, I started with the women's practice squad.
Yep.
So helping them out until JV tryouts. Tried out, made the team, and that was easily the best decision of my life. Got to play with Dewey, play with Rob, and meet Coach Fred, and that was just an amazing experience as basically a normal student. And I'd always heard about people getting pulled up, from JV. So that immediately became my goal. And I think it was very similar with Dewey. Like, we would get in the gym a lot, as much as we could outside of practice, just literally just dreaming of putting on that jersey and running out of the tunnel. Unfortunately, with all COVID and everything, that sort of slowed down that process. So last year I went back to the women's squad since there was no JV. But I still just operated with that same dream in mind, and tried to keep in shape as much as possible until when they announced JV wasn't happening, but they were going to have this tryout. That's when it really kicked in. I was like, this is that opportunity I've been waiting for, and thankfully it worked out.
What was that tryout like? Was it like cutthroat?
It was, well, the tryout itself, there were a lot of people there, not necessarily candidates, but there were
there were a lot of dudes there.
Bodies, yeah. But when Rob and I started the trying out process of like practicing with the team, that was, I guess it was like 10 days, but that really felt like an eternity of just war, like in my head, because you're in a separate locker room, you're not hanging out with the team, as much as they do. And you're not being told anything because, that's just how it is. But it was an awesome experience because every day I was just coming in, trying to prove myself, and, it worked out. But it definitely was mentally one of the hardest stretches I've gone through.
So how did you find out that you had made it? And then for someone who was born and bred at Tar Heel, what was it like to tell your family, and how did they respond? Yeah,
that was – so I'll start with I guess it was after practice, right before the team went to Florida to scrimmage. The practice before that, Coach Davis and Coach Fred pulled Rob and I aside just under the basket after practice, and Coach Davis said, we've loved having you here for the last 10 days. We think you really add value. I wouldn't normally go to 18 on the roster, but for you two, I will. And those words those will stick for me forever. And I saw Will Lamb, he's a manager. He's one of my closest friends, and he was sort of like, he saw us, getting pulled aside, and he was sort of like eavesdropping, and he started smiling. And I just had a huge grin on my face for about 24 hours straight.
Did you play it cool? Were you like, oh, cool, coach? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I said thank you for the opportunity, all that. But then, as soon as I got back, it honestly didn't really hit me that hard. I called my mom. Actually, no, she stopped by because she lives in Chapel Hill now, and so I got to tell her in person. I called my dad. They were super proud, but it really didn't hit me till I called my high school coach, who's been, one of my biggest supporters and mentors. And, as soon he said, it's really rare that a kid gets to live out their childhood dream.
Yeah.
And as soon as he said that, it really just hit me like, this is really what I grew up, shooting hoops in the driveway, dreaming about. So that was definitely a special day.
I can't remember if it was that practice or one very soon after that when Coach Davis was getting on the guys a little bit, and he kind of pointed out you and Rob and said something to the effect of like, these guys are out here trying their best every day, and you bunch of lazy bums aren't doing it. When that's going on and you're kind of new to the team, and you're like, oh, thanks,
yeah,
Coach.
definitely. And that was actually during the tryout process because I think it was like a morning walkthrough or play. We were doing dummy offense, and Dewey had sat down with Rob and I and, walked us through the plays so we knew it. And, he was like, how many hours are you, like, credit hours are you in? And, we said, like, 15, 16, whatever. They know that they've been here for 2 days, and they know the plays better. But that was definitely sort of, we were just standing there, like, unsure what to do. It's like, what are we going to say?
Yeah, love, I'm about to take your spot, buddy.
Yeah, back off. Yeah.
So take us through, like, what is a typical practice like for you guys? What are your goals? What are you out there trying to do?
Yeah, really, at the end of the day, our goal, your goal as a walk-on is to sort of be an example in terms of like the things you can control, like giving full effort, full energy. Obviously we're not the quickest guys, so it's not like we're gonna, be the best on defense or offense, but talking as much as we can, just being energetic, being some type of spur or catalyst for an entire team of, like a team-wide effort. In terms of like once the season got going, our roles really turned into like a scout team. So like for example, before we play Louisville, like we're going to run Louisville's plays. The 5 of us, I'll be there either point guard or shooting guard, and we'll try and mimic basically how their style of play, just so the scholarship guys can get practice guarding.
Now, have you ever gotten to be somebody who is just shoot it every single time that you get it? Have you ever gotten to play that role?
That's when it's the most fun. It's take open shots, but we're trying to mimic the caliber of players that they'll be playing. So, if I'm playing a 6'4" guy, I can't really add 4 inches, automatically. But it's really just, I bring the skill of shooting and passing to the table. So I really just trying to do as much as I can there.
That first time you ran out of the Smith Center tunnel and instead of going to your seat, went to go do warm-ups and then actually sit on the Carolina basketball bench. Yeah. What was that like? Did you have that moment of, oh, this is happening right now?
Yes, yeah. And I thought, freshman year on JV, playing in an empty stadium, I would come out to warm up and I'd be just looking around wow, this is a crazy opportunity. And, all of a sudden you put 20,000 people in there, it just transforms it even more. And that adrenaline rush was something. I think I was up till 3. Just I couldn't go to sleep, after that first one, because it just, kept my heart pumping. And I was just so appreciative of that opportunity because, like I said, I dreamt of running out of that tunnel for years. So,
is there anybody that you battle with? We've heard some stories through the years of Pierce Landry, Rob's dad, would talk about how he and Jerry Stackhouse always ended up banging heads at practice. Are you always guarding RJ or Caleb or somebody that you end up just kind of being tired of seeing each other?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guard RJ and Caleb probably the most, but I try and get after them as much as I can, pressuring them. But it's all we never really butt heads. Probably my favorite thing of being on the team is getting to know the guys, and those are 2 of my closest guys on the team. So it's really if there's nothing really personal with it, but we're just trying to make each other better because that's my role. So.
We don't ever really get to hear it from this perspective. What's the toughest thing about guarding both RJ and Caleb? What's something they can do that you can play the best possible defense you could play, and they still might do whatever this is that they might do to you?
Yeah, and that's something I learned very quickly in the tryout process. Because even though I'd been running and as much as I could and staying in court shape, the first few days they just blew by me and I was not ready. So I'd say with RJ especially, because he's just so quick. Sometimes if he gets any glimpse of some airspace, he'll turn the corner, and sometimes it feels like he squeaks by me a lot. But and he's one of the most physical guards I've ever had to guard. So if he sees any space, it's hard to stay in front, especially when he can elevate and finish over top. But I mean, other than that, I try and bring a toughness, and I've definitely gotten better. I've seen myself grow in that respect, toughness on defense, because I can control that. So I've definitely grown with respect to that.
You're in the business school, right?
I am, yeah.
We talked about this with Armando a little bit, but what do people not understand about balancing playing this level of basketball with that level of academics?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I actually sort of saw the difference because the first month or so of school, I wasn't playing basketball. So I basically concentrated a lot of my time on doing my homework early, trying to get ahead of it. And then once basketball hit, I realized, we're spending 5 hours a day there just for practice, and you sort of got to add time on either end. But I'd say the time, time management has been, the most crucial step for me in managing those 2 things, because obviously I didn't, I came to Carolina for the academics and the athletics game. So I definitely prioritize both, especially since I only have, a year and a half left to play basketball for sure. I've just held a priority on class as well as basketball. So I try to be a leader on that front too. So.
Tell us a little bit about what you like to do away from the game.
Yeah, well, I love watching Survivor.
Whoa.
I actually just discovered it this past summer, which is very surprising. But,
There's this new show.
yeah,
called
I've been
Survivor.
telling all my friends, like, yo, do you watch Survivor? And they're like, I did years ago.
In 98, maybe.
Yeah. But, I've been watching that, Peaky Blinders, some other shows.
Nice.
I really enjoy skiing, but I haven't been in, a few years just because with everything going on.
Well, about Survivor, so are you I assume there's still a current Survivor show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now, have you watched our old ones available?
Yeah. Hulu has a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And like Netflix has a few. It's funny. I actually applied to be on the show.
Whoa.
I just
Do we know yet? Have you heard back?
I haven't heard back. I mean, maybe they're watching this.
Let's get on it, Survivor. Survivor, Bojangles, let's go.
Are you going to send in an addendum and be like, I gave people biscuits?
I know. I have an interesting resume for sure in that respect. But maybe one day.
Have you watched the Chase Rice season?
No, I haven't.
Chase Rice, who played football here, who now is a big-time country music singer?
No, I had no idea.
Well, then you need to get
maybe
this
I'll
season.
talk to him. Yeah.
So he was on Survivor and finished in the top
I think he was like second or third. Yeah.
three-ish.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Spoiler, sorry. We're just kidding.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Come on.
Okay, so you mentioned Peaky Blinders. Another Tar Heel student athlete told me about Peaky Blinders and said that it was really good.
I really like it, yeah.
So
Got to have the subtitles turned.
Yes.
Subtitles turned on?
The accents are very hard to
Yeah.
understand.
Very
sometimes.
difficult to
Yeah.
understand.
What kind of accents are they?
I guess
Irish.
yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And sort of British,
Okay.
mix.
But it's English.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
you
Same
definitely
language.
need to have the subtitles turned.
Sometimes it doesn't
Closed
sound
captioning.
like it's English.
So you've seen this too, it sounds like, Jones.
Not a ton, but I know what Jax is talking about, yes.
Okay. Any other hot streaming shows we should be on top of so that we'll be cool?
You mean add to how cool we are.
yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I don't know. Those are sort of the two I've been doing the most.
Have you watched this Formula One show?
No, I haven't. But
I'm watching that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
How is it?
It's good. But all Carolina fans are all mad at Formula One because there was that one game that the Tar Heels were playing. Was it at Georgia Tech
It was
or
at
something?
Georgia Tech, yeah.
And they didn't show the first half because there was some Formula One race on, so it's a real sore subject
I
with Tar
remember
Heel
that.
fans.
Yeah.
But the show itself is good. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Well, I'll definitely check it out.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, before we let you go, if current day Jackson Watkins could go see little tiny Jackson Watkins out there shooting in his driveway, what would you tell him?
Make the first free throw. No. I would definitely tell him keep dreaming big. As a kid, I would have a huge imagination, and in the driveway, I'd be shooting free throws, and I'd be like, could I make a shot under pressure? And boy, if I could go back and say, you just wait, I would definitely say that. It's funny because I practiced the other day. I was shooting free throws, and Ryan comes up and he's like, all right, this one's for $5. I'm like, $5? Come on. But, I'd say just keep dreaming big, keep working hard because, with those two things and a little bit of luck, anything can happen.
Our interview with Jackson, just like all of our interviews, brought to you by the Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina. Texting while driving takes your eyes off the road for right about 5 seconds. And at highway speeds, that's like driving the length of a football field with your eyes closed. Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina want you to stay safe behind the wheel. Put down that phone while you're driving, and let's have a hands-free NC. To learn more and find an agent near you, you can visit trustedchoice.com/goheels. Adam, football schedule. Out. Tar Heels, 6 games at home, 6 games on the road. We knew this portion of the schedule that we've talked about before. Florida A&M, a week 0 game, starting early, August 27th. Then back-to-back road games against group of 5 teams, very unique. At Appalachian State on September 3rd, at Georgia State on September 10th. Then, always an exciting year when this happens, Adam. 2 open dates this year upcoming because of the calendar. Look, I don't know. Just understand when I say it's because of the calendar, that's what it means.
Has to do with the ocean and the moon and the gravitational pull. You know what's up.
So no game on Saturday, September 17th. Fortunate because the Tar Heels host Notre Dame the next week. And honestly, Adam, I think this is probably the most attractive part of the schedule is that Saturday, September 24th, Saturday, October 1st, Heels go Notre Dame, Virginia Tech back-to-back in Chapel Hill. That's pretty good. Then they'll be on the road for back-to-back games, long trip to Miami on Saturday, October 8th, short trip to Duke on Saturday, October 15th. Then they are off again for their second bye week, and then they close with Pitt at home October 29th. 2 road games at Virginia, at Wake. Those will be big games, tough games. Saturday, November 5th, Saturday, November 12th. Home against Georgia Tech, home against State. The Friday after Thanksgiving, both those games in Chapel Hill to close things out. So, a couple things that jump out to me, Adam. You don't have a real long stretch where you're playing like 4 games in a row at home or something like that. You have a couple of back-to-back games at home, the Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, and then the Georgia Tech, NC State, but that's it. You go a pretty long time there without being home after you play Virginia Tech on October 1st. Heels not at home again until October 29th. So almost the entire month of October, Carolina's either off or away. No Thursday games for Carolina, which not that the Tar Heels ask me, but that's a thumbs up as far as I'm concerned. Every game on Saturday except that NC State matchup, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving. And I do think we've said it multiple times, the Florida A&M game, that's the right move. You don't want your season opener to be at Appalachian when you're breaking in a new quarterback, whoever that might be. And the Tar Heels need to have a good year, and now we know what their schedule will be.
I think what really hits home when you look at this schedule is how much turnover there's been both nationally and in the Coastal, because you always base kind of what you think about the schedule on the prior year. Well, you can't do that this year, and in that stretch Jones is talking about, home against Notre Dame, home against Virginia Tech, at Miami, at Duke, they all have new coaches. Have really no idea what to expect from any of them. They'll have good players, but you don't know as much about what they're going to try to do. So I think it's an attractive schedule at home in terms of the opponents that you'll face. You'll see Notre Dame at Kenan Stadium. You'll see the Hokies, who always bring a good crowd. You'll see NC State. But all in all, I think a pretty balanced schedule as far as how it lays out.
We've talked about Wake and how the Tar Heels don't play them very often. This is the third consecutive year and fourth time in the last 5. Is that right? I think that's right. That the Tar Heels will play Wake. Is that right, Adam? No, this is the 4th straight year that they've played each other. That's what it is.
Right.
And so it's been an odd circumstance that they had the home-and-home non-conference games, including the win last year for Carolina in Kenan. The win 2 years ago in Kenan for Carolina was added due to COVID, but the Deacs were not on the initial schedule. And now this year, this is a regular rotation conference game against Wake. So this is, while the 4th consecutive year that the Tar Heels have played the Deacs, this is also the last time for the foreseeable future that Carolina will play Wake Forest, unless there's some funky schedule changes, or if the ACC changes the way they schedule, which, who knows. But at least in the current format, this will be the last time that Carolina is scheduled to play Wake for a long time. And I do think, that the 4 games that you mentioned, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech at home, at Miami, at Duke, that's a tough stretch. And then this isn't I'm not going to mention Pitt. Pitt won the ACC last year. But those back-to-back road games, Virginia and Wake, those are hard places to go. Carolina has struggled at Virginia historically. Wake has had a very good team. I think they've got a lot of dudes coming back. So there's a couple stretches on here where you go, oop, yep, that'll be tough. And, let's not act like going to App State's a sure thing. They beat Carolina here a couple years ago. I think the Tar Heels are better now than they were then. And I don't know enough about Appalachian to tell you if they're better, worse, or the same. But that'll be a tough trip. I don't know if when this schedule is laid out on a national level, people are going to go, ooh, well, that's a grind for the Tar Heels. But similar to what we were talking about with basketball, I do think when you know a little bit more about some of these places that Carolina's going or the Tar Heel history in these places, I do think this is certainly not easy.
I do think at least nationally people will say, well, most teams wouldn't go to Boone.
Or Georgia State.
Right.
And by the way, and I know Carolina smoked Georgia State this year. I think I mentioned they're not a bad team. They ended up winning a bowl game, had an above 500 record. Tar Heels won that game handily, but they aren't a bad team or program, and I have to imagine it'll be one of their bigger games that they've had of their home stadium. So don't just look at that and go, no big deal.
We've talked about how Mac Brown prefers this. The schedule just seems better without that kind of weird opponent on the second to last week.
Yeah.
This year, it's Georgia Tech, which is a conference game, a division game. That's who you want to be playing at the end of the season when hopefully you know a lot about your team and feel like you're rounded into form and are playing well. That's better than how it's been the last few years. And as we said, that's the way Mac Brown wants it. The NC State game on the Friday after Thanksgiving, maybe that's becoming a tradition unlike any other. I don't know. It seems like maybe it is. But the Tar Heels will just need to win that one. There's not a lot of cushion in that ACC schedule the way it fell for the Tar Heels this year with who they're matched up with.
I will say with Carolina playing State in both men's and women's basketball this weekend, it made me just a little angry about how football went this year. Just reminded me.
Good. I needed more anger about that game.
Yeah, just reminded me. That was not a good day. Saturday, good day. That Friday, not a good day.
Well, Saturday, good day.
Yeah.
That was better.
Okay. Adam, why don't we do our Champions Watch? Brought to you by UNC Health. Dedicated to caring for champions of all kinds. Help keep you in the game and at your very best. You can see their lineup at unchealthcare.org/sports. unchealthcare.org/sports.
Was a good weekend for women's tennis. They advanced in the ITA indoors, as they do pretty much every year. They've won it, I think, 5 of the last 9 years, and they won a couple matches this weekend in Chapel Hill, so they'll move on. The championship round, I believe, is in Madison, Wisconsin, here in a couple weeks. Men's tennis fell in that same tournament to Ohio State, a highly ranked team. Kind of unusual you run into a team ranked that highly this early in that event, but that's what happens, just the way the draw falls. So Carolina's out on the men's side. And then women's basketball on Sunday at Carmichael. Carolina hung in there with a very experienced veteran NC State team, but eventually Pac just had too much firepower, got the win. But Carolina, good showing at Carmichael and a good fan turnout.
Yeah, I have to imagine that NC State is close to the peak of their powers for this run that they've been on for women's basketball. And they are very, very good and very experienced. Even I, who follow Carolina women's basketball and just in turn will then know some about other ACC teams in women's basketball, even I was like, whoa, she's still playing there? I mean, they've got some older, good players. And were very good last year. You know, we're right there on the cusp of the Final Four a year ago. So, I mean, this is a really good NC State team. Yeah. We've said this about the Tar. I do think the Tar Heels are ascending. And they beat Duke last week on the road. A nice win, very nice win, to get a ranked win on the road against the Blue Devils. And then I think that was their first win in Cameron since 2014. Believe that's right. And then to go toe-to-toe with the Pac. I mean, I'm sure they're frustrated because that was a game Carolina led by double digits in the first half, led by 6 at halftime, and then just had a really poor start to the second half that they couldn't get out of. But I feel like they're taking some positive steps. And again, I don't know enough about the league. I think the Tar Heels are one of the 3 or 4 better teams in the conference. Notre Dame seems good. Georgia Tech's good. So they're right there in that mix, a very natural step in their progression. So we'll see. Before we go any further in the show, adjust that volume. Let's take a quick ad break. So, Adam, should we get to your – I have a feeling that you have a hearty list, Adam. Plus, hold on, before we even get to your list, I forgot to mention this at the top of the show. We also, you may remember, we were talking about 1982 on Friday. And, of course, the 82 team was back, as we talked about, for the state game. So Adam kind of offhand mentioned, man, it'd be great to get some stories from 1982. And we've received several good emails with some 82 stories. We're going to read one of them coming up in just a little bit. And I think we'll continue that for the next couple of shows, reading some of these 82 emails. So send them in. If you have a memory from that 82 championship game, that's both pre-Adam and me. And so we'd love to hear any accounts, both, whether that was from Chapel Hill or from New Orleans or from your house in Reedsville, wherever you might be. Then we'd love to hear some memories and thoughts from that 82. So keep sending those in. We'll get that started here a little bit later in the show. Now, Adam, how about your list?
What's on the top of Adam's list? Brought to you by Top of the Hill, where Tar Heels come to celebrate.
Now I'm feeling some pressure on the list that it's got to be a hearty one.
Yeah, don't mess it up.
Wanted to mention, in case you didn't already hear, ESPN College Game Day will be here in Chapel Hill on Saturday. That'll be Saturday morning. Of course, fans invited and encouraged to attend. There'll be all sorts of fun things going on, in addition to, of course, the TV show that will be there. All the parking and what time doors open and things like that, you can find that on goheels.com. Wanted to give a what up to a gentleman who shall be known only as Superman Colin, who Missy Hampy DM'd us and said she was at the game on Saturday, and then Superman Colin at the Rams Club was able to upgrade Missy's seats because she was a Rams Club member. So, of course, you should be a member of the Rams Club, and you know about all those various benefits that we've talked about. Sometimes you get benefits that might not be in the brochure. Like Superman Colin comes along, and all of a sudden you've got much better seats to watch the 1982 team and Roy Williams be honored.
Did I tell you that I talked to the Yalds before the game against NC State?
No.
Oh, yeah. They came down. We chatted up. So I feel like that brought good mojo.
Was Vernon there this time?
Of course he was.
I mean, he's always there, but sometimes he doesn't make it.
No,
I
got to physically lay eyes on Vernon, so I know that I'm going to call him the Vern Dog. I kind of like that. Know that the Vern Dog is a real man, and Susan Yald was in that same category as Brandon was, where she said she was just the fact that she was going to be in the same building as Michael Jordan was going to be a bucket list for Susan. So check it off, Suze.
And Vernon said,
Seuss.
And the Vern Dog said, "What'd you say, Seuss? Let me turn down my iPod. see what you're talking about here." Want to say congratulations to Wes Miller. He got his 200th career win on Sunday, and he did it in the state of North Carolina. Cincinnati beat East Carolina at the buzzer. It was a good game. He is the national leader in wins under 40. He is 39 years old.
Nice.
Wes Miller is 39 years old. It's hard for me to believe. We talked about the football schedule a little earlier. Also wanted to mention that football tickets are on sale this week. Also on goheels.com. You can put deposits down. You can get your pick of seats. It's a good time to go ahead and do that because you know that Notre Dame game, the Virginia Tech game, those games we talked about, those are going to be sought after tickets.
Popular.
I bet you weren't expecting this to be on the list. I was out and about the other day, and I thought to myself, why don't you go by and check out that women's soccer conditioning test? And so they were doing what they call the beep test at the indoor practice facility over there, and let me just tell you that it was a beast. And also, everyone on women's soccer is a beast. The winner in the beep test, so here's what you do. You run 20 meters.
Oh, you're going by meters now.
That's how we do it on the pitch, Jones.
With footy.
Yeah. You run 20 meters, and then you have to run back the 20 meters in a length of time that decreases as it goes. And so the little magical voice tells you when you're halfway to your time, but it doesn't like count down. So you have to kind of pace yourself. So
How far is 20 meters?
farther than I want to run, and definitely farther than I want to run there and back. It's like 15 yards.
Okay.
That could be completely wrong. If only you had something that would tell us. So as you go, if you can't make it there and back, you're eliminated. So like everything Ants Endurance does, it's very competitive. And he said they do this test all across the soccer world. And the winner this year was Emily Moxley. She did 55, which is the all-time Carolina women's soccer record. Anson said no one's ever gotten above 51, and he said that 55 would win almost any team he's ever been a part of. National team,
Wow.
World Cup team, any team. So Emily Moxley, no surprise from Carey.
That's just where they breed the toughest.
Toughness is in our DNA when you come out of Carey.
1 meter equals 1.09361 yards. That's so stupid. What? Let's just all. I know everybody else uses meters. Obviously, yards is better. Just come on, everybody, just use the yards.
Well, everyone has to switch to yards because that's how we mark off the football field.
Right.
We can't change that to meters.
Those laser first down markers can't be adjusted for international measurements.
Did you see in the conference championship games, I can't even remember which one it was now, someone went for it on 4th down, and the announcer was like, and the QB sneaked it, and the announcer was like, well, it's all going to depend on where they put the ball down.
Yeah.
It shouldn't depend on that.
Yeah.
It's 2022.
That was Rams-Niners game. You're right. Yeah.
So anyway, Emily Moxley, crib, good job, and everyone there was very impressive. Jones, I wanted to get your take on two big things that happened Saturday. This is the last thing on the list. Kevin Keats interacting with you on the sideline, and Tar Heel Bird.
Okay. Yes. All right. Let's start with Kevin Keats. So this was an unusual little aside. So, as you know, if you're a frequent pod listener, you know that the opposing coaches like to stand directly in front of where I sit at the Smith Center to call the game. Kevin Keats, no different. I think Kevin Keats heard a fair amount of the Tar Heel Sports Network broadcast on Saturday. And I know he heard one particular part. Thanks to Hannah Smith, who captured this audio for us and tweeted it out with the video. I know we've sent it because Hannah did it for the bird too, which we'll get to in a second. But she also tweeted this part out. So it was during the time when they were checking to see if the Tar Heels had a shot clock violation late in the game, which, by the way, I don't think they did. I think even after reviewing this, they got it wrong. Tar Heels took a shot, and I think it was Love, and missed it at the end of the shot clock and didn't hit iron. But Leaky Black and I think maybe Dontrez Styles were both there and tipped it. And I think when they tipped it, it hit the rim. And then Dontrez, in fact, I know he was out there because then he got it and laid it in, but they had called a shot clock violation, which I don't think was the right decision. But anyway, at this point of the game, there was just like 4 minutes left, and it was like a 25-point game. And yet it was, not that they don't want to get all the calls right, but they were pouring over this replay. And Kevin Keats was kind of standing in front of us, and he was giving it I can't believe this is taking this long, head shake to Teddy V, your boy.
Right.
And Mark Schnurr, who was the other official who was involved in this discussion. So on the air, I said, well, Kevin Keats kind of shaking his head as they continue to dissect. But with the video that Hannah captured and put the audio with it, Kevin Keats then heard me say Kevin Keats, I think. And then he turned. Now, Kevin Keats wears a mask on the sideline, and so I think he said something to me. But Kevin Keats fell in the trap that so many people fall in, Adam.
Yep.
We've got our headsets on and are talking. So I can't hear you when that happens. So Kevin, and I'm not even 100% sure he said anything because he had the mask on, so I don't know if his mouth was moving. So Kevin Keats looked at me. His head kind of moved around like he was saying something to me. Was he agreeing with me? Was he talking about how handsome I am? Was he talking smack to me? I don't know. Any of these things are possible. Or maybe he didn't say anything at all. Also possible. But if you look at the video, and maybe we'll tweet this out, I guess. I can say things. Sometimes they happen. Sometimes they don't. And you can see, like, we see each other, and he's saying something, and I kind of do something with my head, and then we go on our way after that.
It was uncanny how he kind of cocks his head at you, and then you kind of cock your head back at him. It's like,
don't you put your head to the side to me, Mr. Keats. I will do the same to you, head coach of the Wolfpack.
I mean, y'all could have a blood feud going right now, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, that's right. He may have said, don't you let my name come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
He might have simmered you.
That's right.
But
I didn't simmer on him, though. We know that. That would have gotten some
We would have seen that on the video. What a moment that would have been. So I don't know. Kevin Keats has always been very pleasant when he does the pregame interview, so I don't think you have a blood feud, but it would be nice to know if you have one.
Right.
And that reminded me that I forgot to ask you about Mike Young and his stool. And at one point I looked over there, and Mike Young had put his stool directly in front of you and was like reclined back on the table, like with his head on your table.
Yeah. Mike Young, big Tar Heel Sports Network fan, I'm guessing. He was fully relaxed listening to the broadcast. Mike Young he did take the time to go talk to Eric. Like, he was very excited to shake Eric's hand.
As most people.
Yeah, then he just blew past me. He was like, whatever, loser. Josh Pastner, I feel like we're boys, just like you. I mean, I know you are.
Yeah.
Who do we still have coming to this? Jim Boeheim will not be pleasant.
Won't know about him.
Mike Krzyzewski will not be pleasant.
Not going to happen.
Leonard Hamilton, I feel like Leonard Hamilton has a little bit of jovialness in him that's hidden underneath that he may, if the timing's right, may say something hilarious.
But he only wants to show it to Phil Ford.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Also, as I've said, do not underestimate how big Leonard Hamilton is. He is a big man. So if you're listening to the broadcast and I don't know what's going on when Carolina's playing Florida State, just understand that's why.
We've got Pittsburgh coming too. Jeff Capel will.
No. Is that it? Is that all that's left? That can't be all that's left.
Think so.
There's only 4 games left?
No, 5. Duke, Louisville, Syracuse.
Oh, Louisville.
Pittsburgh.
That's it. Mike Pegues.
I
don't know. I don't know Mike Pegues.
If he walked in here right now with a sign that said "I'm Mike Pegues," I'd be like, "Now, who are you?"
So, still to be determined. But so that's what happened with Kevin Keats. Now for the bird. Well, first of all, let's just put in the audio. Again, thanks to Hannah for this. Let's just put in the audio here of what happened when the bird got on the court.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. The bird's a winner.
And a bird is on the court. A bird has landed on the court of the Smith Center. I think if you've now Kip, who works in the Smith Center, has got a towel. And I think at minimum he scared the bird, which has now gone into the crowd. Don't touch the bird, everybody. If you've ever been in the Smith Center, especially like in the summer, you'll hear some birds up in the upper levels that have found their way in here. And that little guy found his way on the way to the court.
They said, man, this is a slick surface.
Adam, I have to say, this was an electric moment. This was awesome. Like, I mean, but again, it had to happen in this type of game. Like, if it was a close game, it would not been nearly as funny. But the fact that it was the game was pretty much decided at this point, and you got Kip going out there with the towel. Like, what was Kip going to do? Was he going to tackle the bird on the court? I actually saw Kip afterwards when I was leaving the Smith Center that night, and we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, actually, I'm pretty glad nothing happened. He was like, if I had caught that bird and something bad would have happened, he was like, I feel like I would have been all over the internet. Kip, I think you're right. So, and I said this, as you just heard, like, to understand this, you have to have been in the Smith Center, and I feel like especially in the summer, but definitely when it's empty or relatively empty. You hear birds all the time. And it's just, I mean, close your eyes and think about the Smith Center. There's so much airspace up there. Like, don't underestimate how much airspace there is at the top of the Smith Center. So I don't know how birds get it. I don't know. Like,
I know this.
Oh, okay.
I think I was there when that bird got in.
Okay.
Friday night, I was at the Smith Center. And, so there's a tunnel where some people can go in.
Only the cool people.
And they had left the door standing open. And when I was going in the tunnel, a bird went from like inside just above the door, like the length of the tunnel where the visiting buses go. And the people I was with was like, that's crazy. There's a bird in here. And I said, oh, sometimes they get out there in the actual court area and fly around. Usually that's in the summertime. You don't have to worry about that tomorrow at the game. I think it was the same bird.
You and the bird. So, and I know that sounds weird to say, but it is not unusual to hear a bird in the Smith Center. Again, I really feel like that happens in the summer. I don't know why.
I think the doors open more.
Oh, it's a good point. Yeah. So, and then once they get in, look, I mean, think, if that was a bird, that'd be like a playground for you. I mean, eventually you die because you wouldn't have anything to eat. But before then, it'd be great.
What a roller coaster of a story.
So,
This used to be a playground.
This used to be my playground. This used to be my childhood dream. This used to be
here's the postscript to the bird. It's blown my mind how many people want to tell us about the bird. Number one, we've gotten plenty of hilarious "Who Let Tar Heel Bird" out of Pod World headquarters tweets, which, let's be honest, those were expected and needed. What I was unaware of, Adam, is how many aviary experts we had out there. Ornithologists. Maybe. Maybe I'm close.
I think that's right.
Zach Wallace was the first one that I'm aware of, and he just went straight to the DMs.
Yeah.
I was impressed that Zach, this may have been when the game was still going on. He sent us a DM at 4:08 on Saturday, so right when the game was over. If you need some facts on that Carolina Wren for the podcast, let me know. National Audubon Society employee and lifelong Tar Heel fan. So I saw that DM from Zach, and this is honestly what I first thought, Adam. I was like, oh boy, this guy seems weird. Because I thought that he was trying to say, if you need some facts on that Carolina win and not Wren. And I was like, Zach, I don't need any facts about the win, brah. I was there. And then the other thing about the Audubon Society, I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. So, okay, cool.
Jones isn't always at the top of his game right after the
Right.
game concludes. You got to come down from that adrenaline.
So, Carolina Wren, as we have learned, that's WREN, is the type of bird that bird was. The official Tar Heel bird. Well, second, I mean, real Tar Heel bird's right over there. But like
It's like costume Ramesses and real Ramesses.
Yeah, this was the real Ramesses.
Right.
That was out there. Hannah King can tell us about it.
Right.
So Zach very helpfully gave us a link, which I'll get to in just a second. But I mean, we had multiple people send us tweets that would just be like, that bird was a Carolina Wren. I'm just stunned that so many people knew what type of bird it was.
Yeah. I was nervous when the bird went out there. I mean, you got to think this bird had talked to his bird friends and knew that like this was a cool place to fly around with a lot of volume of air. But then when that bird got in there and saw all the people in there, I was worried the bird was going to freak out and just start dive bombing people. But that wasn't what happened. So it ended much more happily than I was afraid it might.
We did also, Kent sent us, is this a friend of Mr. Goose Honkers? We got that. We got at least it wasn't a bat. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We got it's no squirrel scoring a touchdown, but still fun. That is always hilarious.
Yeah.
When the squirrel gets, or a cat or something, gets out on the football field.
If it had been a bat and you had been that close to it, would you have been able to maintain your cool and just sit there like, oh, ho hum, I hope they take care of this bat? Or you'd have been like, Montrose, cover me, I'm getting under the table.
Now, here's another exciting piece of video that kind of, I gotta admit, had gotten lost in my Twitter mentions, but I'm seeing it right now. This is from Brett LeClaire, and Brett said that he chased the same bird out of the equipment room a couple of weeks ago. And he's got some backstage or back hall footage. Look at this.
Like of Ben falling down in the tunnel?
Yeah, look. Okay, Adam's watching the video. You're going to get some real time here and just look. Look, he's got. Did you see? He's got a broom and he's chasing the bird. This is right outside the hall, the varsity locker room.
Now, this bird might be a little more nefarious than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Also, how does Brett know it's the same one?
I don't know.
It's got markings that identify
It's
itself?
a Carolina wren.
There's only one of those?
I mean, how did everybody know that it was this type of bird?
A lot of people like birds.
Okay, so Zach sent us the Audubon Society link, obviously, about Carolina wrens. So let's learn a little more, Adam. I'm going to call this Bird Corner. More brightly colored than most wrens, and with a rich musical song, Carolina wrens are common in open woods and backyards in the southeast. They busily explore brush piles and low tangles. The adults live in pairs all year. Oh, and they may duet at any season, with the female giving a chattering note while the male sings. The northern edge of the species range varies over time. It gradually expands northward during series of mild years, then gets knocked southward again by very severe winters. The feeding behavior? Usually forages in pairs, actively exploring low tangles, foliage, bark of trunks and branches. Eggs, 5 to 6, sometimes 4 to 8. White with brown blotches, usually concentrated on the larger end. Young? Both parents bring food for nestlings. Diet? Surprisingly, Adam, mostly insects. Feeds primarily on insects of many kinds. Caterpillars, beetles, bugs. Bugs? Like, is that a... Let's go, Audubon.org. That seems a little broad. Special grasshoppers, crickets, and many others. Hopefully leftover popcorn and peanuts as well there in the Smith Center to keep this little fellow alive. And, by the way, they may mate for life. We can all learn something from these Carolina wrens, Adam.
May duet at any time. I mean, they're like Jay-Z and Beyonce out there.
Sonny and Cher.
Well, I mean, if this bird was in the equipment room, you got to traverse a long hallway to get there. It's a determined little Carolina wren.
Yeah. I hope... There's been some high drama in my house about whether or not the bird has survived. The answer is yes.
I don't know that it didn't.
Yeah. He survived. He or she survived.
Well, one thing we know for sure, the next time we see a bird in the Smith Center, we'll be like, well, there's that same bird.
There's Tar Heel Bird.
Yeah. And everyone will just assume it's the same one.
We should have known, honestly, that as soon as Tar Heel Bird showed up, everything was fine.
Sure.
Everything's going to be fine. Okay. I mean, honestly, this has been enough for an incredible podcast, but we're not done yet. So you just sit back like Mike Young on his stool in front of the Tar Heel Sports Network because it is time for a little 1982 story time, my friends. We're going to do this for as many good stories as we get from you guys from 82. So, I mean, they never go out of style. Let's just put it that way. Our first one comes from Kenna Walker. And Kenna's 1982 story time starts like this. Honestly, Adam, we should get sponsored by the Audubon Society. Birds are a big part of the Carolina Insider.
That's true. Maybe a little NIL deal for the pod.
Yeah. What could they give us? A big book of birds.
Yeah. Sometimes people give me the bird.
For upperclassmen at UNC on March 29th, 1982, our story should be told with 1981 in the rearview mirror. March 30th, 1981 began as a day when I, remember, this is Kenna, eagerly awaited watching my Tar Heels play Indiana for the NCAA championship, anticipating a big celebration when the game clock hit 0. Instead, As I routinely walked through the lobby of Alderman Dorm that afternoon, passing the General Hospital regulars in front of the TV, I heard, "We interrupt this program with a special news bulletin," followed by the word that the president had been shot. The joy of the day evaporated and was not restored by the final score later that evening. Fast forward to 1982. The Tar Heels, who had added a freshman named Michael Jordan to our already ridiculously talented squad. Student ticket distribution that year made it hard to obtain game tickets without missing class. Well, Kenna, time to make a choice, I guess. If memory serves me, you had to line up at Carmichael, get a number, be back in line every hour on the hour to keep your spot. I ended up only going to 2 games that year. I saw the very best of that year's team with incredible victory against Virginia, and then the inexplicable loss to Wake Forest. The day of the championship game, there was an electric feeling on campus. This time, no one, Adam, nothing, would steal Kenna's joy. My boyfriend drove to Chapel Hill to watch the game with Kenna. He had a newly broken leg and was on crutches. Oh, that's a twist. However, his car was also brand new. And since literally painting the town blue was an integral part of victory celebrations in those days, he parked off campus and hobbled uphill to my dorm. Hey, hashtag so classy for that guy. That's a lot of work. We watched the game on a tiny color TV in a room down the hall, with the volume down, listening to Woody, of course, fretting and cheering like all good fans do. The elation at the end of that game seemed extra sweet after the previous year's championship game. We were all incredibly happy for Coach Smith to have his long-deserved championship, but having our own redemption story added another layer of jubilation. Due to my Bose crutches, nice use of bow, Kenna.
Not like the brand Bose.
Yeah.
Like they didn't produce crutches at that time. Like the French word beau.
French? I didn't know that.
It sounds French. I don't know that that's true.
So cultured.
Just made that up.
We only ventured to the edge of celebration on Franklin Street to avoid being caught up in the undulating crowd. In my memory, the people moved like an amoeba, swallowing newcomers and incorporating them into a mass of roaring revelers who moved as one. Like Kenna, you and Adam, what authors, what writers you are. As I had a test the next morning, lame, Kenna. Kenna, you seem to be really worried about academics here. Oh, wait, it says here Kenna MD at the bottom. No. I had a test the next morning. I found my way to bed earlier than most. 3 different times the fire alarm went off after I'd gone to bed. I can't say I'd understand that form of celebration, but I do understand the joy behind it. Kenna does not support illegally pulling a fire alarm, but she will just put a little asterisk this time because there was some happiness there.
Gonna write your name on the chalkboard, but you're not gonna have to write sentences.
The next morning, when I was sitting outside the campus Y reviewing my notes before that ill-timed sociology test, I saw a few students wandering campus who seemed not yet to have found their beds. Oh, Pat Sullivan, how are you already in Chapel Hill?
Freddie Kiger, get back to bed.
Some of the blue paint spread that night lingered for years as a reminder of one of the greatest of all nights to be a Tar Heel. I'm going to hit the pause button real fast. It does seem like the 82 party was perhaps the biggest party of all time. I think if you listed the parties, 82 is probably number 1.
Yeah, people were still riding in the backs of station wagons with no seatbelt on and like playing with knives as a hobby. I mean, it stands to reason.
Now everybody just go to Franklin Street and hold their phone up and be like, look, I'm on Franklin Street. All right, let's go.
Hold on, I got to get this for the gram.
Yeah.
Woo, Heels number 1. Okay, let's go.
All right, I'm tired.
I've got a sociology test.
Oh, nice little happy moment here. That boyfriend became my husband. We're back to Kenna now. I failed to mention earlier that he's an NC State fan. The stories I shared of the greatness of that Tar Heel team and their championship helped to land both of our children firmly on the side of baby blue. Kenna, I knew I liked you. My son's great fervor for UNC basketball and a desire to understand what made them so good led to a love for basketball analytics, which has now led him to being a data scientist for the Golden State Warriors. This is as wild as the Bird story. Tar Heel basketball players, take note. You will never know all of the ways you have made a difference in the lives of your fans. Now, almost 40 years later, I can still hear Woody shouting,
The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship!
and feel goosebumps. I can still see the crowd on Franklin Street, and I still smile just thinking about Worthy, Perkins, and Jordan, and all the rest of them who brought us our first championship season. Well, Adam, the bar has been set high for these other 82 stories. Kenna just did a nice job summing it all up.
That's exactly what we're looking for right there. Whether you were at the game or on Franklin Street, just give us a little slice of what it was like, and nice job setting the scene with 81 in the background, because I think we always think about 17 as being redemption, and we kind of forget 82 was redemption also. I liked everything about that story. I also enjoyed that probably Kenna's boyfriend, future husband, when the Pack won it the next year, was probably like, oh, Kenna, we're going to go back and forth with this mantle of championship basketball squads all throughout our relationship. And Kenna was probably like, okay, Bo. And then ever since then, nothing good has ever happened to him.
And Kenna was like, one of the most exciting things that's going to happen is a bird is going to land on the court when you guys come to the Smith Center. 40 years from now, there's going to be a bird on the court, guys.
Kevin Keats is going to cock his head at Jones.
Woo. Well, Adam, it's been everything I dreamed it could be.
No one would ever believe that about 4 hours ago we said, do we have enough for a whole show?
Yeah.
We got enough for like a double show.
The answer is we do. We did, and we have. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, you know what the next show is. We're previewing Duke. Carolina Blue Devils coming up on Saturday in Chapel Hill. And hopefully we're talking about great performance for the Heels from tonight in Louisville. We'll have a good guest. We'll get you ready for Tar Heels and Duke. We'll have another 82 story, 5-second challenge. I will be asking the question. I'm going to go ahead and mark my territory now like a Carolina Wren landing on the Smith Center court.
CarolinaInsiderPod@gmail.com.
Yeah, send
us
us
82 stories.
Yeah, send us some 82 stories. For now, we're going to let Jackson Watkins. Bo Jackson? Bo. I feel like that's Bo Dash. Like there's got to be a dash. Can't be Bo Jackson. It's got to be Bo Dash Jackson.
Just to make sure you know which one you're talking about, because they could easily get confused.
Yeah. We're going to let Jackson Watkins and the RZA get us out of here on the latest edition of the Carolina Insider.
All right, thank y'all for having me. This is Jackson Watkins. See you later, Big Grits.
When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner.
Pound box of sugar and a stick of margarine. A hot pot of grits kept my family from starving. Steamy hot meal served less than 5 minutes. Big silver pot, boiling water, salt in it. House full of brothers and sisters, the pot's missing. Pilgrim on a box on the stove in the kitchen.
When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner.
See you later, Big Grit.
The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Tar Heels Sports Network. 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 Sports